Most academics try to share their research by posting an abstract or maybe a little summary of, hey, here's my new paper. And then they're super confused when this all disappears without a trace. So you wrote the abstract to get past the reviewers. It has a specific purpose. You don't write the abstract to reach somebody that's just scrolling on their phone quickly. Those are two completely different jobs. I've published hundreds of research papers. I've also learned how to write copy online. And if you do copywriting online, if that first line doesn't land, then nobody will read the second line. But academics are never taught this skill. And that's the exact difference on how to make your work have impact in public versus just filing it off in some journal where it sits and nobody ever reads it. Today, I'm going to give you the exact translation system for this. Hey, I'm Leonard. I'm a tenured professor and a university research chair. And on the side, I've built a business based on writing that has to earn attention from strangers. So I do live in both worlds. One that rewards dense and careful writing, and the other one that punishes that kind of writing instantly. In my channel, I talk to experts like you that feel like their best ideas are just trapped somewhere inside of their writing and they can't get it out to the public. Translating your ideas into something that you can post in public is how you free them and give them legs. And here's the reframe that I think is really important for people to understand. Translating your work is not diluting it. Diluting it would mean you're removing some of the content to make it easier. That's not the case. Translating your work means that the findings and the caveats that you explain in your work stay exactly the way that they are. The only thing that it does is it changes the delivery so that humans can understand it more easily. The same rigor goes into both of them, you just package it differently for different audiences. So here's my simple 6-step system that turns a paper into ideas that people find worth sharing online. And I'll show you how the system creates something that can go into a newsletter, a thread, an online LinkedIn post, and just gets you the exposure that you always wanted for your research. Let's get into it. Step 1, read your work again and find that one surprising, insightful core inside of it. Your paper may have many different findings, but content should really just focus on one idea out of all of those findings. If you ever read the book Made to Stick, it talks a lot about how to find something at its core and to connect it to something unexpected. So look at your core finding again and see if there's something in there that an outsider would find very surprising. Something that makes people say, wait, what, really? That's the thing you're looking for. Everything else you can cut from that piece that goes out in public. Step 2, you should find the human stakes. A lot of research is very abstract. It kind of lives into its own little world. But once you find out who it helps and why, you really have something that's worth sharing and that a lot of people will be quite interested in. The thing is that statistics are rather abstract, and what people care about is a person and the story surrounding that person. So before you start writing anything that's related to your research, just ask yourself a plain question. Who is better off if they understand this, and what will it change in their life? Step 3, lead with the result. As experts, we often struggle with the curse of knowledge. Steve Pinker has written this down in an article where he said that this is the reason why so many academics write so badly. You cannot just set up 14 years of context to understand something instantly. A lot of readers are not interested in that deep context. They just want the punchline. They just want the thing that matters right away. So, as you're translating your research for the public, open with that concrete finding, that one example that makes it all work for your reader. And then later, you can let the background come in for the people that keep reading in more long form pieces. If you're writing short form, it's all about just that finding. It's basically a headline. If you write more long form things like YouTube content or longer blog articles or newsletter, you can go a bit more into depth and deliver some of that finding later on in the article as people are looking for it and they will stay around to find it. Quick thing first, and then I'll translate a really dry abstract into a hook and maybe a thread live. Translating your work is a skill that you can cultivate, but knowing why your market isn't aware of you and why they don't see the wonderful work that you do, that's something that you have to diagnose first, and that lies underneath this. So I built a short quiz for that. It's called Why Aren't You the Obvious Choice Yet? It's just a couple of questions, should take you 3 to 5 minutes, gives you your expert type, and I'll try to diagnose a specific reason why your current market doesn't see you yet. It's free, just add your email at the end and I'll send you your result. You can find it, in the description and back to it. Step 4, make the first line earn the second. In copywriting, we call this the slippery slide, and it's really important. As copywriters say, the job of the first sentence is to earn the second sentence. So this really puts emphasis on the openness of a piece. In copywriting and social media writing, this is usually called a hook or an opening line. And that opening line should be something different than in this paper we examine. It needs to really hit right out of the park with the interesting result, with the thing that's surprising, and that might go contrarian to the thing that people understand about the world. This will make them perk up, look, and think about, something in there is quite interesting. I want to read more. Show me that. So always aim for that surprising claim at the beginning. Step 5, one claim per piece. So writing has many different units. And every unit of writing should have a single goal, a single point if you want. Your paper can have up to 5 different contributions, and you can couch them nicely inside of the academic writing. For a post that goes out in public, you only get to have one at a time. So focus on what contribution you want to highlight. And if you have 5 contributions, that might be 5 different posts, not all in one post. It's too much, and it will drown in the sea of noise that is social media. If you have the discipline to cut everything down to just the one thing that you want to highlight, this is what really makes this shareable. The thing is, most of our readers can really just repeat one thing at a time. Step 6, end on a usable takeaway. So this is not just about having a thesis for your paper, but much more about understanding how this paper gives something to the lives of the people that read it. Again, you have to think about the people out there that could do something with your research work. At the end of the day, you want to give the reader something that they care about. You want to make them see things a little bit more differently. So always try to find that one concrete thing that you want the reader to take away from your piece of writing. It's not about you, it's all about your reader. Now, there's of course different formats that your writing in public can take, and to understand that, you have to understand the structure of this. We call this packaging. If you write a thread, you have a one-line hook, and then each idea is basically a beat in the thread. So if you have 5 ideas, then each of those are 5 beats, or 5 bullet points, or let's say 3 sub-bullet points, so that you can clearly tell each beat in a separate sub-post if you like. And then at the very end, you can contextualize everything. So you can leave that for the limitation if you want. That's important when you're talking about academic work. You ideally still want to point to the references or say in which context this work might not apply. Part of talking about academic findings online. If you have more space, like a blog post or a newsletter, you have time to develop the human story around the findings that you have. You can spend a bit more time on the method here, and you can really explain what's going on. If you're creating a short video, again a different format, then the most important things have to go into the first 3 seconds. For a LinkedIn post, it's kind of similar. You have one hook line and one rehook line, and then you have the fold. So those 2 lines really need to earn the attention that people want to read more of the entire post. The nuance, the details, those are all below the fold. Basically like you're writing a headline, inviting somebody to read the entire piece. So think about what kind of container you want to put your finding in before you attempt to write this. And this is really important to think about as research gets translated into public. Some of the important nuances get missed, and then it gets mistranslated. A famous example is the marshmallow test. You might have heard about this. The original finding got translated into, if you teach kids willpower, they will succeed. And then in 2018, we had a larger replication study, and that found that this effect kind of disappeared if you controlled for the child's background. And this was a caveat that wasn't really accounted for in the original reporting. Something, a matter of nuance, that was missing from the understanding. And now we have to update this public knowledge over again. So if you can, and if you're aware of it, always keep the caveat that you can tell from your findings without whitewashing everything and just making it just so bland that it kind of fits into a mold that everyone understands. Keep that understanding of the details that matter. Don't just translate it into a pop piece. So, one thing to take away is you need one surprising core, you need human stakes attached to it, and you need to state the result before you keep explaining about the background. The first line earns the second, earns the third, and so forth. You keep writing lines that earn one another, and you need to only have one claim per piece if you really want to make it stick. And always keep that usable takeaway at the end. And if you're doing scientific findings, make sure that you point out any limitations or caveats that are part of the work. Your research already did the hard part. Now, the research translation is the fun part. And translation is a craft that anyone can learn. So translating your work fixes the writing of your work. But I have another video up here, and translating your work doesn't fix the deeper thing. And that thing is really why we see a lot of experts stuck not getting the attention that they deserve, even when their work is excellent. So I made a whole video on that, the reasons and the way out of this spiral. It's all on the screen. Watch it next.